It's hard to cover 144 years in church history. There was a lot going on. We were literally in Georgia at that time in the midst of a reconstruction period. Had just 6 years earlier finished the Civil War, when you had some founding members decide it was God's will and desire to have a church right here on the foundation of that building right next door. In the midst of a time when over 50% of Georgia's economy had been completely destroyed by the Civil War. You think about the faith it took for the people to say, let's start a church here. There was nothing here. You'll see in a picture that we got from the Gwinnett Historical Society, Five Forks down here was a wagon trail. We had to cross the river to go up here. It's an amazing thing. So I want you to watch this, look at it, see how the Lord has blessed over these past 144 years. Go ahead, Jim.
The history of Yellow River Baptist Church actually had its start back in the late 1700s. For hundreds of years, this land had been home to both the Cherokee and the Creek Indians. But in 1790, they ceded their property rights to the United States government, and 28 years later, on December 18, 1818, Gwinnett County was created. At that time, land lotteries were held, and for a cost of just $1, you could enter the land lottery, and if your name was drawn, you would receive 250 acres in the newly formed Gwinnett County. Gwinnett County was named after Button Gwinnett, who was both a state legislator and former governor of Georgia, but he was killed in a duel in 1777. Button Gwinnett was also one of the original signers of the Declaration of Independence. Just 43 years after the creation of Gwinnett County, our nation found itself thrust into a bitter civil war where over 700,000 of our nation's citizens would lose their lives. That loss of life represented over 2% of our nation's total population at that time. The Civil War was particularly hard on Georgia, where over 50% of the state's economy was destroyed. Much of the state's devastation was contributed to General William Tecumseh Sherman, who cut a devastating path of destruction all the way from Atlanta to Savannah. Just 6 years after the end of the Civil War, and during the Reconstruction period on August 25, 1871, Yellow River Baptist Church was founded by 15 members. Mary Gardner, Martha Cochran, Sarah and Jesse Reagan, Sarah Nash, Mary Lee, John Nash, Tamelia Ford, Lucinda Nash, Mary Brown, Lewis Nash, Thurston Kane, John Kane, Margaret Nash, and our first pastor, T.E. Kennerly. During the early years of the church, Five Forks was nothing but a wagon road that led from Stone Mountain to Lawrenceville. And right down the road from the church was the Yellow River Post Office. Right next to that was Thomas P. Hudson's General Store, and along there was his 562-acre farm right off Five Forks. As Gwinnett County grew, the first public school was eventually opened in Lawrenceville, along with some other local businesses, like the grocery store seen here owned by C.H. Landress in Luxembourg.
There's a lighthouse.
That as the county grew, so did Yellow River Baptist Church, and in 1948, the original building was replaced with a granite rock structure to accommodate the church's growth.
When I'm tossed, you know it's
This picture was taken inside the new church, and many of these young children are now some of our most faithful senior members of Yellow River. In 1960, the exterior of the church was remodeled, in addition to adding a 2-story granite educational building at the rear of the church. Then in 1963, the interior of the church was again remodeled to enlarge the sanctuary. But before too long, the members of the church had outgrown the old church, so in 1971, A new auditorium containing classrooms and offices was constructed, which is where we are worshiping today.
The winds obey his will. When he speaks, the storms be still. Be afraid. Oh, don't be afraid. Though the billows may roll. The billows may roll.
In September of 1990, God was preparing to answer the prayers of two of his churches in a very unusual way. As the Heritage Quartet sang at Glen Haven Baptist Church, God moved the hearts of James Thompson and Ralph Landris to contact them about merging their new church, Tabernacle Baptist, with Yellow River Baptist. And on January 20th, 1991, the two churches merged, and God has been in control and blessing ever since. By 1993, Yellow River Baptist Church called Jerry Klein as their next pastor, and within just a few months, called Mark Davis to co-pastor alongside of Brother Klein. These men would co-pastor Yellow River Baptist Church for the next 12 years through 2005. Then Brother Klein would continue to lead Yellow River as our senior pastor up until his retirement in 2009. Under their leadership, the church experienced many wonderful changes, including the building of our educational center and our fellowship hall, followed by the completion of our gymnasium. Since 2010, the church has continued to grow, starting with the complete renovation of our New Life Center. Then in 2011, we renovated the foyer and the restrooms of the main building, in addition to all of the classrooms located at the interior of the main auditorium. Then in 2012, we renovated the platform in the main auditorium. Then in 2013, we completely renovated our entire baptistry area. For our homecoming in 2014, we dedicated the renovation of our 4,400 square foot fellowship hall. Late in the summer of this year, our church approved the remodeling of our gymnasium. We recently completed the renovation of our gym floor and will be creating classrooms and activity areas within the facility, and will be relocating our teen ministry to this building by the start of 2016.
Sing it. I thank God.
In looking towards the future, the only thing that I am certain of is the imminent return of Jesus Christ. And until we hear that shout from heaven, I can guarantee you that his glorious gospel will continue to be preached from this pulpit without fear, favor, embarrassment, or excuse, all for his honor and for his glory alone.